If you knew that one of your close friends was about to betray you to those plotting to kill you, would you invite that friend over for a meal? I think not. However, that's exactly what Jesus does. Holy Week takes a somber turn on Thursday. From Bethany, Jesus sent Peter and John ahead to the upper room in Jerusalem to make preparations for the Passover feast. The Passover meal was eaten within the city limits of Jerusalem. For the Jews, the feast marked the memorial of a past victory. But on this particular night, Jesus transformed the Passover meal into a remembrance for his body and his blood, which would soon be offered as a sacrifice for the sins of many. After sunset that evening, Jesus washed the disciples' feet and gave them a lesson on true love and humility. At supper that evening, Jesus became deeply troubled. He said, "Truly, I say to you, one of you will betray me, one who is eating with me." Imagine how this statement must have stunned the disciples. Then, shortly into supper, Judas leaves to set in motion Jesus' arrest. Even until the very end, Jesus hid from his disciples the identity of the betrayer. Jesus wanted to give Judas every opportunity to turn from his sin. I find it interesting, Judas never refers to Jesus as Messiah, only Rabbi. Judas was lost for the same reason that millions are lost today. He never repented of his sins and truly believed in Jesus as the Messiah for salvation. Judas is neither a martyr nor a robot. When Judas went out that night to betray Jesus, he acted of his own volition. Later that evening, Jesus and the disciples left the upper room and went to the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus prayed in agony to God the Father. Luke's gospel says that his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. It was in this very garden that Jesus would be betrayed by Judas Iscariot with a kiss, and then arrested by the Sanhedrin. He would be taken to the home of Caiaphas, the high priest, where the whole council had gathered to begin making their case against Jesus. Throughout the entire night, Jesus endured 6 false trials. 3 of the trials were by Jewish leaders and 3 by the Romans. During this time, Jesus endured painful beatings, and he was mocked by those conducting the trial. Eventually, Jesus was handed over to Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor. Pilate, in an attempt to appease the enraged Jewish leaders, had Jesus cruelly beaten and whipped. But this act did not satisfy the bloodthirsty cries of the crowd. Instead, they cheered for Barabbas, a murderer, to be released to them, and shouted all the more for Jesus, the innocent, to be crucified. So, Pilate washed his hands and gave Jesus over to his death.